the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Minutes. I didn't see any more from you.
I didn't see anything either. Here, I was just about done with my meeting, but I got one.
No, there's one that's still open on, third grade right now. Just in the spell. The D is one.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah.
That's still close enough, they can't figure it out.
Because my name gets mixed up everywhere.
Well, yeah, yours is funny to me because it's spelled, you can spell it two, three different ways.
Yeah. Total, yeah. What's up? Okay. I can't remember what it is. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, we approved the minutes Tuesday, May 6th, with the one spelling correction.
That's it.
I second, Mr. Chairman.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, we've got any committee reports?
I can give you two reports. I can report what I learned as county commissioner. Second one, you weren't there, it's pretty weak. First of all, the projections, because of the income tax exemptions, the revenue for the state looks like it's going to be on a major tax or shortfall. Past history has always shown that when the state has a revenue shortage, that somewhere along the line, the counties end up making up the difference, and their mill levy usually goes up when the state has a shortfall. And that's just not to say it's going to happen. The presentation indicated a fairly grim picture of what the revenues are going to be. Of course, the legislative, we know, there's not been on the mortgage registration fee, and nobody, they didn't even try to attempt to figure out what the short or where we was going to fall on that, because most of the data that was collected only come from 3 or 4 counties, and everybody else's was just a wild projection. So we don't know that the projections are anywhere close to what the study showed. So otherwise, I think we need to watch the outcome of the fixtures bill exemption, whether that may have some future implications. The second thing that will do, another thing that will be re-presented next year is how ag land is going to be classified. The bill that was presented this year, if they change how it's classified, ag land would go up another 170%. So, and that they're pretty assured that bill will be back next year.
Which one?
presented, and I don't even know if they had a hearing on it, but it will be presented, they're pretty sure, next year. So that's, otherwise, we had a pretty good conference, and my other report was I had a meeting yesterday in regards to the NEKS now going out on their own versus being tied in with multi-county, and we will be, did you get a copy of, I'll bet that's on my computer, and I didn't get it, so I may have to have you pull an email.
Did I get a copy of the proposed, I did the proposed.
Yeah,
resolution.
there's been some there've been a few changes made, and we're not required, if we are content with them, we can go ahead and pass the resolution and adopt the local agreement and have it all signed. The goal is by next Tuesday that we have it passed. So, they were supposed to send me a copy of the revised, and whether they got it done or not, I'd have to, I didn't even check my email last night, it may have been there, so. I think there was 2 or 3 things that Brown, Jackson, Atchison County was concerned about, and they wanted to get the wording changed a little bit before we signed off on the interlocal agreement, so. So that'll be something I definitely want to put on next week's agenda, is to approve the interlocal agreement and the resolution. The resolution basically says that we get an interlocal agreement. I'll get a copy of it back. I'll forward it to you guys.
Any department heads or reports? Any new business? The only new business I can think of is, the application for, $1 million grant for the EDA. That we had a presentation from Jeff Cottle, Lois Acres. What's up here? Mark Windsor up here with one? Anyways, a few weeks ago, I think they're getting ready to submit that final application to EDA for the Innovation Center, and we're, wanting to know from us if we would, be able to commit, a certain amount of dollars, over a 5-year period. And as part of the application process, they need to have buy-ins from, local government entities as well as multiple other groups, which they do. With that, just for discussion, I'd maybe suggest commitment for that $1 million grant of maybe $10,000 a year for 5 years.
Can't have a problem with that.
Is there any question?
I think we probably better take it, because we're on cash basis, I mean, our intent would be because we would not know in the future makeup of commissioners, I wouldn't say that our intent would be, but I don't think it would tie something to their hands, so, next year contribute to next year with the intent of doing it for 5 years, so.
I need a motion to contribute.
It'll be in the 2015 budget, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. I would move that we would, commit to, the intent to be 5 years, but we'll definitely go year by year based on cash basis law and makeup of the commission, $10,000 to the, what's it, CI, what do they call that?
It's an innovation center.
Innovation Center.
Yeah.
Yeah, the project that,
I'll second that motion as long as, they go forward with it, before they get
Yeah, they have to, I think they just need a commitment,
okay.
and they're applying for it. The $1 million grant from EPA, it's a dollar per hour match.
Yes, sir.
Motion is second, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Further discussion? Motion carried 3-0. Wendy might, we got, send a notification to, Jeff Cottle, and, Los Acres gave us her contact info over her card, I think. We, send her a letter or email. Yeah, there's,
There's 2 cards, I just got there's 12.
so it's, yeah, I probably sent it 3. Well, I sent it to Lois and Jeff, and then nobody laid on. Pass that to, Linda, I don't know if I have Jeff's, I don't think I have Jeff. Kyle's contact info, but we need to send letter or email to Jeff Cottle and Lois to.
I have Jeff's email.
Hmm?
I have Jeff's email.
Yeah. Should we do a tenth or? In the evening, it's a Saturday, 6 p.m. Do you want to attend that?
Nope, that's the Rose Festival.
Okay.
Let's go to the Rose Festival. Sorry,
Yeah.
I got jobs to do there, so.
Hmm. Okay. Huh. No, that's fine. Yeah. Pat, where would the sheriff's office be shown? Just like old files or evidence or?
Reports, drafts of reports, I don't know, they do have a big docket, what you call it, inmate information, I don't know. There might be a question for Jack about how sensitive that data is. Some of it I would think would be highly sensitive, but a lot of it I would think wouldn't be.
Well, I know we showed stuff over here in the courthouse, and I think I saw some of it being carried out by, Achievement Services. Yeah.
Don't they have a contract though with a different provider that comes in trucks and I think the bins that the recyclables are in, from their company, they take them out and they're sealed and they're not even opened and either
I know you have a contract with somebody for sure. I'm assuming you'd have. I would just figure you got a call, as he does.
Well, yeah, I think that's who it is.
Roger, was there something you were interested in?
Yeah, I had myself put on your agenda so that I could go over again the flood zone issues so that they had a public meeting, it could become part of the record, and then you can't ask anything for 20 days until after that has occurred. So there's no action wanted, but I want to give you a little more information. And since I presented last time, the floodplain administrators over our area discovered a minor flaw in their previous advice, and they have changed what we need to do a little. Okay? You ready for me to do this?
Yeah, I just didn't see an agenda, I was just trying to figure out.
Oh.
It's on here.
It is?
She had me down for 1:30, and I was just kind of... island until we got there.
So we'll go over the lake and,
I know I didn't give you a preliminary report on this, but since you can't do it in 20 days anyway, it's just as well to do it today. So, what I would like to do is go over them. You actually got 3 letters in front of you. I think the first letter that you have sitting in front of you is actually a letter from FEMA, probably. Oh, you're looking at an email on top. That is the email that actually came from Steve Danielson, who is in charge of this. I had originally received what I needed to do from him. I sent it back to him for the chief engineer's preliminary approval, and he said, oh, he failed to recognize something and that it totally changed what we needed to do. So, with his assistance, it has been rewritten. And so if you have the copy of the floodplain management, instead of just doing a simple amendment on several little text changes, we're to re-adopt it. And let me go through a highlighted in yellow everything. This has changed from the previous copy, okay? But to run through it very, very gently, if you look at the bottom left-hand corner of that document, you see that model 60.3, and then there's a D in parentheses. Previously, we had a B in there, which meant that we were 2 models older than what we needed to be on this document, and he misread the B for a D, and since he saw that on our previous one, he came back and said, oh, we've got to make these other changes. Rolling down through methods used to analyze flood hazards, that section is all new because previously there had not been any analysis of our flood hazard areas. Previously, to tell you briefly the difference, in our first study, we were an undesignated area. We had flood zones, but we really didn't have any elevations. We didn't have a flood insurance study with them. There were very few analysis done, and so basically we were just dealing with some maps. Now they've done an analysis, they have a lot more stuff, and so they suggest that we do a little bit more. Rolling to the bottom of page number 2, there's an Article 2 general provisions, and the area numbered, unnumbered, and A zones, AE, AO, and AH zones are all there. Previously, we didn't have anything except unnumbered zones. Okay, now we have all of these other zones. It may seem worse, but in reality, by having numbered zones, it means we can look exactly what someone might need to do. If they were under the old section and they were within a flood zone, they didn't have any clue what to do, nor would we be allowed to let them do much without that. Rolling on through, and I'm going to highlight a couple of things, just 2 things in here. At the bottom of page 3, there's a shaded area, and I just want you to know that was the original requirement that caused the need for the permits, which we've been doing. I haven't heard any problem with the permits we've been doing. We're very responsive, and probably have issued somewhere in the neighborhood of 35 of those already since your adoption a few months ago. But that is the same text we created it for. It's still there. Moving on to page 5. This is dealing with special flood hazard areas. I'm going to try and explain it, and what they do is they project what they have as a floodway, and then they have special hazard areas. The floodway is the area where the water is going to flow when we get a big rain. The special flood hazard areas are the fringes that also are subject to flooding. What they try and do is prohibit anything in that floodway, and then restrict what you can do in the special hazard areas to a point where, number one, you won't be flooded, and number two, so that you won't raise the level of it in such a manner that someone else upstream from you will be flooded, okay? So that's basically what they're after in most of these cases, and Article number 4A3 is talking about restricting development in that actual floodway. Rolling on back, page 7, and I just want to point this out so that you're well aware of it. The area in gray, a non-conforming use is something that's been built in the floodway in the past. This basically states that if it's ever destroyed by more than 50% of its value at the time of the destruction, that it can't be rebuilt unless it conforms. Okay? Rolling on down through places where it used to just say A zone, it's adding the additional lettering. Page 8, this one was previously presented to you. This one actually adds professional engineers to surveyors and who can determine what the base flood elevation is. The whole section D is added, which addresses AO zones, AH zones, and floodways. And this is the whole section, basically a little over a page, that deals with those zones and how they're to be handled. Okay? Continuing, until we get back to definitions, there's nothing there. And on page 14, there are 4 new definitions added. Actually, in the entire definitions section, there's only 5 new definitions, 6 new definitions added, and those are all definitions that deal with the new flood zones which we didn't previously have. Now, I don't know that we get a lot of choice on these issues, but I wanted to bring out what they were, what the additional changes were. We do have, and I do want to explain this because it refers to the flood insurance study. We have a flood insurance study now. Recently, they did detailed studies on the Missouri River and on Stranger Creek because there have been a number of problems with those areas. We still have other drainage areas, the Delaware being one of those, that have not had detailed studies done on, but there is a certain degree of information here that can deal with it. But they have not been developed to the point where Stranger and the Missouri River have. There's much more development along those two areas. Anything that we need to know as we roll down through on the maps, these actually have sections and profiles of those drainage basins so that anyone dealing with it, whether it's an engineer or a surveyor, could calculate what the likelihood of flooding is in any of those places. Most of the development that's going on in Ashton County is not being done in those flood-prone areas. We have not had any problems with any of the permits being handled so far. For the most part, people in the agricultural industry are aware of where floods traditionally happen and know that it's not going to be good to their improvements to have them located in that area. More than likely, the problems that we would have would be with people who buy something new to build on and haven't any historic knowledge of what was done. I don't want to bore you to death with any more of this, but I'll answer any questions that you have. It's just, it changes from the other ordinance to this resolution, which a month from now or so, we should put on your agenda to get adopted. This will satisfy our notification, having it on the public record, and it actually has to be adopted prior to September 3rd. If you wanted to, you can put it off until the last minute, but I'm not personally going to try and do that just because things happen.
Well, yeah, I think we got everything, I think that, he said 20 days, he's gotta have 20 days waiting, so 3 weeks, maybe we could pass it.
You have to do a publication?
No. We don't have to do a publication before, we do have to probably publish it afterwards.
Adopt.
The 20-day notice ahead of time, according to the flood management people, and they were the ones who wrote the ordinance in the beginning, he informed me that if it's done at a public meeting and part of the record of that meeting, then that would suffice in satisfying the
But,
20-day public notice. And that's why we're doing it in the afternoon rather than as we previously did it in the morning.
You guys have a copy of this revised in your office and the appraiser's office, if somebody wants to look at it. Do we need to have anything like that?
We can put this online also, if you would like. We can put it online so that anyone could go out and take a look at it. We have it electronically. I am not a bit shy. I would be more than agreeable to emailing all of this data I handed you today so that you could all have it at your fingertips and refer to anyone. My only caution is, and again, it's not an ordinance, this is an ordinance that comes from them. We might be able to modify some things, but pretty much they've written it to a technical nature, which is the minimum standard that they want to approve. Once you've had a chance to look at this, before you review it for approval in 3 weeks or a month, we need to get the chief engineer to review what we are proposing and get his approval on it.
I think as long as you got the basics covered, I think I'm happy with it. I do think we need to have, so it'd be nice if we got a record of it somewhere, so that people want to access it or whatever, to look at it, right? So,
Absolutely. And, you know, what we do right now with permits and everything else, if they want an electronic copy of their permit with map and everything attached, we get an email address and mail it to them. We're very good at doing it. As a matter of fact, we've had people from a distance, and we will send them the application. They can fill it out, send it back in to us, and we'll finish it online.
So will that only be a hearing or just on the agenda? It's not
Just
technically.
an agenda.
Okay. I will be gone, that was June 3rd, I will be gone that meeting, we will put it off to the 10th, maybe the following week, if that's okay, with you?
Yeah. Yeah, we're still with the deadline, so it's no problem.
Me still need you guys, if you hear that,
Yep.
if that's okay.
Yep.
I suggest June 10th,
Okay,
that's okay.
perfect.
It's 2 p.m., is that,
Sounds great.
that works?
Anything else? Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I know we never like new regulations, but we don't have a lot of choice.
No, this we don't have much choice, this isn't really bringing the thought, this is really protecting people more, so we're trying to hinder anything, so.
And the best thing is, we're not administering the city of Ashton. This is only in the county. Most of the property owners in the county, when they come in to see us, if there is a flood zone close, and there have been in a couple of cases, we ask them for a little greater specificity as to where they're building. We put a few dimensions on the plan, assuring that they're going to miss it. Most of them have been appreciative that they found out where it was and that they could stay out of it. So, all works to their advantage.
I apologize, I didn't get that, my meeting lasted longer yesterday.
Not a problem.
I thought an hour meeting lasted 3.5.
It happens all the time.
So, I'll be down to see you, you'll be around in today.
Okay.
We get out of here, right now, I'll come down.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you later.
I'm not exactly sure why I'm here. I'm hopefully to provide good information or to answer questions or, whatever I can do.
Okay.
Um,
Probably a little bit of both, but I mean,
Okay.
obviously, you know, we rejected all bids
I did
on
hear
the,
that.
on the EMS
Yes.
facility,
I
so,
did.
you know, probably just some, you know, I think a couple's had just a few more questions and discussion and
Okay,
go from there.
that sounds good. I have been in contact with the parent low bidder, and that's really how I kind of figured out that I think the bids have been rejected. I think he came last time, so I don't know how that went, but, anyway.
Depends on where you was sitting.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
It depends on where you was sitting.
I see. Well, I know, he didn't like the fact that my documents held him to 60 days, and,
He signed off on it, didn't he?
I'm sorry?
He signed off on it, didn't he? I mean, when he took the bid, well, he seen that.
Well, yeah, I mean, unfortunately, nothing I can let him out of, he signed the documents, so.
Mhm.
But by rejecting the bids, I truly don't know what that means for the county. Do I need to issue a letter rejecting all bids so that he has that formally, you know, in his,
Yeah, I think we should.
We
should be able
can
to-
officially, I mean, I think we can if you want to, I mean, he was here when we passed the motion.
right,
As
so.
far as that goes, so it's public record,
Public record.
it has been rejected, so I don't know how.
Well, there are two other bidders, though, they officially need to.
Right. I guess that's the only way out, they can be notified, I doubt that I imagine they would be on anyway, so, yeah. I mean, if you're willing to do that, just go ahead, and you can reference the, minutes, May 6th. That's about 3-0 votes, so.
Okay. I'll let them all know. And so I think he was eager to get out, from under it for the bonding or
He has
allocation or whatever it was.
I'm sure he had some other projects and stuff that he was probably waiting on as far as that goes. Yeah, because I told him, I said, you know, I really wasn't prepared for other options, because based on your last estimate, I thought we were still good to go, but the $140,000 or so over budget presented a new issue, and I was in the process of looking at alternatives. I mean, before we totally rejected it, I wanted to be pretty safe ground that there would be some alternative solutions that we could address, and not necessarily drag him. I understand his situation, but a contract's a contract, and,
I hope that was a good meeting.
well, like I said, it just depends on where you were sitting as far as that goes. I mean,
Right.
it didn't sound good, let's just put it that way, but we dealt with the facts as the facts were, and he was a little subjective.
I think we understood where we were coming from, we understood where he was coming from, so.
Well, I think that's all good, provided he's out from under. I have no reason to hold on to a bid bond any longer. Theoretically, if he said he would not perform within that 60-day period, if you had not released him, you theoretically could have kept his bond.
No, he didn't say that. He was,
Right.
he was asking what our intentions were,
Right.
so he could make a decision about what he needed to do.
Correct. So, and that's in essence what this letter will do. I mean, it'll be formal. I think he knows it, it's in your minutes and stuff. I think he's off and running in other venues, so I haven't heard from him in the last week. I don't know where else. I don't,
Well, I mean, I'll just address the elephant in the room, is that is, what's a reasonable amount to be paid? I think our contract says we pay 10% of the construction value awarded up to $235. Well, the construction value that was awarded is zero.
Zero.
So, you know, what do we reach? I mean, we need to-
Well, and I'm not sure, I'll be honest, I have, but I'm not sure what it reads, but I would not anticipate billing for portions of work that obviously are not completed. I mean, we have not,
I'm sorry.
that's okay, go ahead.
Well, I think maybe we could have had this discussion about in the meeting. I apologize.
Oh. Well, I'm prepared for that discussion, if that's kind of where.
Well, I think that's where we need to be, I mean, because we're gonna, I think, you know, once we acquire, know for sure where we may want to relocate, I mean, we're gonna probably start from scratch and just start with a new pre-engineered building of some sort. I mean, that's what we're kind of
Right.
candidly looking here again. I mean, we're not, how do I say it, I mean, we haven't, got anything in stone on that yet either, as far as that goes. So,
Right.
We, you know, land's not easy to acquire, and finding a good location is, that was as good a location.
Right, right.
We all agreed on that. It was the amount that was gonna have to be spent that we thought that and it was just too much.
Right.
And I'll be honest, I mean, every constituent of people I talked to said that was way too much to put into a renovated building. And when I pressed Mr. Carnegie, he shared, he said, yeah, he probably can do a newer, something similar to new. And I said, that's really all I needed to know, and that's what we passed the rejection bids.
Well, we were, researching some grounds, some buildings, because we knew we had 60 days, but he come up with no answer, so we voted to give his answer. That's why it come about as it did.
No, I think you know, just discussing it, you know, with citizens, I think the rehab part of it was, I mean, I think the location with the rescue, the feasibility of it, it got to the point of, you know, are we just sinking money into, you know, this facility that wasn't necessarily built for that. I mean, you know, I think that was probably the hardest part. I mean, I don't think anybody can disagree that it's not cheap to build or
Even your
remodel or do anything like that, especially with EMS.
You know, and I tracked your different reports starting in October, December, and finally February, and I still felt that $381,000 bid, was reasonable to work with for renovating what we was going to do. The twist is what come in $140,000 over.
Right.
And, you know, I could accept it, you know, 20,000 maybe over, you know, something like that. But then you have to reexamine the situation, and that's when I went into motion looking at other options. What can we do with this? Well, I know for a fact that I can put a 3,000 foot square, you know, house. I can put a pretty nice pre-made, a good house in for $200,000 for living quarters. Now, you still got to build your ambulance, and it probably won't be attached, so I mean, that's not exactly the ideal situation for that needs for living quarters, when you could do it for $200,000, that makes you wonder, I mean, what are the other options out there? So that's my general thinking on the thing. You know, I will stand behind the idea that the location is perfect location. But it's just the rehab cost is just more. So I think, yeah, I think that's what we just need to be is to agree to something here to compensate you for some of these services and stuff that you've provided, and and then we'll just have to go on from there if we decide that we need to come back and then work with you on something else, why, then we'll have to deal with it then. But as of right now, I don't get it, that we need to work that out with you.
Okay. Are we okay proceeding?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I don't know if I'll... well, I can tell you that my contract was right around the estimate value, right? And I don't know, we can get into finer points as to whether that changes if nothing is awarded at all. I hope we don't go there, but, the reality is we have completed schematic design, design development, construction documents, and I would argue bidding. I think this is my fourth or maybe fifth trip up during that process, which is usually a one-tripper, so. But construction administration is the piece that we simply won't perform. So I don't see a reason to, request buildings for that. I don't know if this board has had any discussions on where we are or not. I think I have one invoice into you at this point. And that covers, I believe that covered, probably halfway through construction documents or something. And so, I can tell you roughly, I don't have my exact invoice number, but I'm guessing it's right around 15 on the first one. And I probably have another one for that amount to get us complete to 100% bid, nothing being billed for CA. And I can do that with my engineers because they follow my contract. It's not like where I would get into a real bump is if they start deciding to bill me for the remainder of their work and I have no way to pay them. I would assume that the project is 80% complete from my side, if we look at it that way, and if you look at the contract, it lines it out that way. CA is 20% of that effort, which is roughly $7,000. Half of that again would go to engineering, half to me, but, so and that value looks like $30,492. I believe is what the total would be for what I would bill if I bill through 100% bidding. Civil engineering is a pass-through piece. They're not under my umbrella, right? I have them and they are billing me. I'm assuming they would stop, and I need to confirm with the engineers, but I just won't pay them. That's where it goes. But the truth of the matter is if they're at 80%, which the rest of the design team is, they'll be performing their 20% of that. That's professional services umbrella in CA, and their value to date would be $14,196. From a total of 17, they did everything at 100%, they theoretically would be billing 17,745. So 80% of that number, I believe, is 14,196 or so. So I guess what I would be requesting as part of this, if we can do it, and again, the 14,196 is not mine, that's a direct pass through to you guys, they are your consultant, I'm just managing your dollars, would be $30,492. Again, roughly half of that is MEP, MEP and structural engineers for them.
So you're saying that other fees that come directly to us, you won't even see that?
Well, no, it comes to me, and then I've got to get it put into my bill when I send it to you, but it's a direct pass. It's not, I don't have markup on it, I don't have anything, it's their fee.
So that's where you come up with the 30,492.
No, the 30,492 is my contract, which is architectural, structural, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing engineering. Civil is this animal that's over here that is a separate fee, and their total fee was $17,745. Theoretically, they've only completed 80% of that, which gets me to the $14,196 for them. So a total of professional services for the job. Anybody can do good math?
Yeah, 44,500, 44,600.
44,688, I believe. discipline of working on these costs.
Well, I thought it was my understanding, even if we took the job, that 10% a year, I mean, I didn't realize all the civil stuff was coming, that the last estimate that you came in with was 381,000, that's what we would be, that would be our obligation to you.
It is, to me, but civil is a separate piece of that. They were not under my contract, they were a direct consultant to BMR. And they're on the lower line of 17,745. You see it down there?
I see it there.
So it's right here, actually. Architecture, professional A&E costs, that's structural MEP. That's at 38,115, and then civil is its own line item at 17,745.
I must just have an old version, because mine shows the 23,513, 5,535.
The exhibit?
Yeah. So that must be the old version.
I don't know if I have,
Well,
you're welcome to look at
Apparently,
mine.
they have the same one that you have, so.
I think so. So I guess, if that's really the crux of where we are, I would hope we could go there. Those are truly, I believe, services performed to date to get us where we are. I certainly will be billed for that from consultants. Any consent, Paul?
Well, that's not the draft that I have, so you have that, I can look at it real quick.
I think this is it.
Yeah, but you were saying 17,000.
That's because of the project evolved, and we had to go back in, and, we wound up having a grinder pump, we wound up having to, I don't know, 2 or 3 different pieces that their fees actually increased as part of that. Again, that's nothing that goes to me. Well, that's the contract, but remember, you tied, when we started this, I came in and said, guys, we're gonna have to sprinkle this thing. And we said, no, we're not gonna sprinkle this thing. We wound up having to sprinkle this thing. So the only way that I had to increase dollars for the contract was written, was the only way I had to increase dollars for fees for construction specified was to provide a new exhibit. And that's exactly what I did.
So what I'm looking at is the right one.
That was in the
This is-
contract.
Correct. This is what was executed.
But, well, and this one is sent forward and requested approval to move forward with.
You have copies?
Sure.
Do you have the updated exhibit A, second exhibit A?
Should be dated February,
2nd?
that sounds right. But it's the 381
February 7th.
now, that's it.
February second.
And truly, maybe this ship has sailed. And we went through and looked at the project contingencies, of trying to get value out of the project, any number of things. And I sat before you and didn't recommend taking a bunch of them, because, I mean, if I were doing it right, I would do it like this. And that still isn't the truth. But if your best option is to figure out truly how to get dollars out of the project, you simply say, we're gonna whack $40,000 in contingency dollars that are floating around inside of it. We're gonna take $20,000 out of the roof, that was never part of the project, and there's $60,000 right there. If you wanna be proactive and look at it, you've got a building that's $500,000 in value, which you're only paying professional services on $380, which is about a $14,000 benefit. So you're now looking at $74,000. We take roughly $20,000 in items brought forward from Kearney, $90,000.
But a lot of them you didn't recommend.
I guess I would still be remiss in telling you it's the right answer, but dollars and the right answer don't always mean the same thing. So there are ways to very quickly hack some dollars that way. Yes, you're giving up quality. I believe you are. But to get you closer to that, to bridge that gap from 1 to 140, I don't think you'll get there, but you can take a pretty serious dent out of it. Maybe it's 30. Then when we go out there and we cut a hole and we run into something, that was put in 2 inches below the slab and then interferes with the new drain line, I've got to come back and ask you guys for $1,000 or $2,000 because we couldn't see it when they were constructing it. So, I mean, and again, maybe that ship has sailed, and I'm not trying to muddy waters here, but versus just throwing work done to date away, and if there is general agreement that the site is the right one. I've done projects before where there is no contingency at all. It just goes a lot smoother when there is some.
Well, I can see that point, but the same token, when you got that big a carrot out there, it's pretty easy to find something.
So that means,
When you got that big a carrot out there, it's pretty easy to find something that you could get a change order on. We just did a $185,000 project and didn't have any change orders. We had, well, come in $400 over, $200.
was it with this contractor?
No, and it was a project on a historical building that I would guess could have been, having experience, that's where I knew I was on, when we put the elevator in this building, we got a ton of change.
So
some of them weren't that big, some of them were also change orders because we decided, well, while you're at it, let's redo this roof and stuff like that.
Right, right.
When you start drilling and cutting a hole in a historic building, and find out there's a line, I mean, I personally think that there was probably, that if they'd found a change order out there, I'd really been ready somebody over the cold, but I can't hardly believe as basic a building as that is, that there should have been anything underneath that slab, or they would be putting any kind of plumbing or something. Not to say there was, don't get me wrong, but I've also done places where I said there was no water line, and like I said, there isn't one, so.
Yeah. So, I mean, that is what I know and where I'm at, in terms of delivery of services. Now, whether that's agreeable or not, I don't know.
Well, that may be something that we could discuss and get back.
Yeah, I think you made a
Yeah.
fair presentation.
Sure.
I think you made a fair presentation there, because we have those documents to back up the figures that you've got. So, I mean, we're not disputing that, it's a matter of delivery of service and stuff, so. But I think as far as you talk about the ship sale, I think, yeah, we're going to, you know, you've laid out some things, and, yeah, we get that 90,000, we're down to 500,000, right? Is basically what that be. And, we still got, that still don't swallow me. I mean, not that maybe we're gonna save that much more per se, but we still got an old building, and we haven't fixed the roof.
Well, then you'd be starting at 518 and taking 90 out. So you'd be down at 4, whatever that is, 430.
Yeah, but you ain't got your fees in there.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think of construction dollars. Yep.
Yeah, I'm looking at the total, trying to make this fair as we can, and
Total price.
Total price, I mean, this is what's gonna cost you and stuff, so. We'd actually be a little over 5, because I forgot about that civil thing, I mean, that would have hadn't been added there, I wouldn't have had that figured in, so.
We did not do geotechnical engineering. So, I mean, and I don't know if you're looking at 449, if you're looking at project, right?
Yeah.
449, 397, we did some, so that was not in there, the special inspections was not in there.
Yeah, the furniture there, we didn't, that wasn't, you just
Well, I mean, it shouldn't happen. I guess it will be on the future, or something, but, right. These are just kind of, these are those other costs that are out there that, none of those were incurred, so if you truly want to start, I mean, you're backing out, unfortunately, the small numbers, but, yeah.
Yeah, there's only 4 digits of those.
Yeah.
I like the 6 digits. Okay.
But I think you could take those out of, I don't know how you look at that exactly, but, geotech was not performed, special inspections obviously would not be performed because that's done during construction. And the FF&E piece is, I don't know how that was being managed separately. So, but those pieces could come up to that 449 anyway.
Nope.
I think we discussion.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. I am roughly ready to invoice the second invoice for the whole job. Will someone contact me, or how does that go with where you're thinking of going?
Yeah, we can either have Pat or Chris, contact you.
Okay.
So, you said you're just about ready to invoice?
Yeah, I'm horrible about invoicing. I invoice about every 3 months instead of monthly.
Can you, for my benefit, do those numbers again? Because I was looking at the old one. This one, is it not 38,115? Because that's, you need a different number, I think.
Well, that's because I'm saying that if you look in that contract, it's a breakdown of percentage of services. It's schematic design, design development, construction documents, bidding, we've done all those. But then there's CA, which is construction administration, you come out, you review shops, you come out and see the job. And that represents 20% of the fees. So theoretically, the design team has not performed 20% of the services. Now, I'll look at the contract a little harder, but I can't believe it tells you guys to pay me for work that I haven't done. So my point is,
No, and I think arguably it says to pay you for, based on what's awarded, but I'm not trying to start an argument here, but you had said a number that I thought was $40,392. I don't see that on this exhibit, and maybe I wrote down the wrong number.
I think you did.
I think it was 30,492.
It was
30,492, which would be
Well, that's 80%, that's 80% of the projected construction cost.
381, 150.
30,492.
What was the 44,886?
What's that?
Well,
Well, if you add the civil
Civil was
engineering,
Yes,
44,698. And the civil was 14,196.
that's 80%.
Okay, so you're starting with the 38,115.
10% of that is what architect, AE fees were minus civil. Civil was a separate piece. We performed 80% of those services, which gets you to 30,492. Is that what everybody's?
That's what you told us, yeah.
I believe that's correct. It would probably be worth running it again, but it looks about right. And then civil was a separate piece, correct? It was contracted as an additional service with me, but direct basically to you guys, and it's a pass-through. I don't get markup on it, I don't get anything on it. That's what they want for 2 sheets of drawings. But, so if they have performed 80% of their services, i.e. they're not going to perform construction administration, no.
Have they invoiced?
I gotta get back through and see what I have for bills from them, and that's one of the reasons that you guys haven't gotten the bills, because I'm waiting for those things which are pass-throughs that I need to get in there, but, so 80% of that 17,745 is 14,196, I think. So when you add A&E minus civil plus the civil component together, I think that comes up to a total of 44,688. Is what I think everybody would pencil.
Did you say 44?
688. Or 687?
No, it's 44,788, and I'm using calculators, that's probably wrong.
I got 44,688.
I do.
Okay.
Must be
I
your
got
calculator.
there are figures, yeah.
Must be your calculator.
Basically what I believe is complete from the design side. Well, we can debate the finer points on the language of the contract.
I'm coming up with the same number.
Okay. So that is what I believe and where everything is to date. If you look at the set of documents, the bid, whatever else. If there's language in there that says, if nothing is awarded, you perform the services, man, I wrote that contract.
Well, I can't honestly answer that as far as that goes. I mean, I think it is, something that we'll have to get in the contract for sure, but you presented your case here, and I think we've taken an advisement and discussion here, and try to act on it here just as soon as possible.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for coming in.
I'm sorry?
Thanks for coming in.
Sure.
What time did you have to leave?
So I need to leave it 20 now? Okay.
Set up the report.
No, I'd like to have just 10 minutes executive
Yeah, I think that'd be a good idea. What's so fresh in everybody's mind?
Oh, okay.
Well, no, I got
Good.
two other,
I laid them on your desk.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm going through all those.
Alright.
It's always, I mean, it looks like there's so many, like, checks issued, but I have to go back through and remind that it's listed off by invoice, and there's generally one check per vendor per month, it looks like.
Yeah.
that you wish you'd back in school, get ready for finals.
Oh, I just finished my finals.
Oh, you just
Yeah.
did your finals,
Yep.
okay.
Graduate in December, and I just applied for graduate school.
What are you gonna get your master's in?
My MBA,
MBA,
Mhm.
okay, good,
Business Administration.
good. That's a good versatile.
Yes, very.
That's the biggest thing I'm concerned about kids these days is fast changing world. What you go in today, 10 years down the road's gone,
Mhm.
and then you gotta restart.
Yeah.
But there's, if you go into IT or, business, things like that, I mean, you're pretty well set to be pretty versatile.
Yeah.
I got a brother-in-law that's a counselor, he said 90% of kids change after the first year of school, they change what they want.
Yeah.
I can see that. When I took my son out, we toured K-State, the gal that was giving us the tour, she was a junior, and she was on her 13th major change.
Oh my God.
That's a little excessive.
Well, the old saying is, wise people change their mind, fools never do. So I guess she figured she was gonna be wise.
Wow. That's crazy.
No, my son-in-law spent 3.5 years studying history at KU and decided there wasn't gonna be a future in history. And so he went to Verizon and learned how to be an IT, and before he was graduated, he was hired, and he's already had 2 promotions in 3 years, so,
That's awesome.
in IT. Not very patient with me because I'm pretty computer dumb, and my technology is very, knowledge is very limited. I mean, it took me a while to understand what a browser was. I'm sorry, that's true, I'm sorry. Yeah, when I go on, sometimes I go to the internet, and I go online, you get tech server, and they say, well, can you do this, this, and this?
Last few
I
pages.
say, excuse me, can you go out, and could you speak English, you know?
Do you see it?
We want 15 minutes or 10 minutes now. Might as well use up your time, 15 minutes.
20.
Well, he wants to leave.
Oh, we are right here at 15 minutes.
I move we have, attorney-client privilege, executive session for 15 minutes. With, county council and the commission.
Okay, motion to a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay. No action taken, sorry.
If there was unspent money in noxious weed, if there's money in noxious, unspent money in noxious weed, that had to be transferred into the noxious weed capital outlay.
Okay, repeat that again.
Say we had $20,000 left over in noxious weed, say we had surplus budget.
Yes.
The two times before that I was involved, I understand, I was told that money, it can't be transferred, it has to go into the noxious weed capital outlay.
Yeah, so that 29,493.
Well, that's your any cash balance.
Well, you can either roll it over into the noxious weed cash carryover
Well, yeah.
or transfer it into,
Capital outlay.
yeah, capital.
Okay, it can go either way.
Correct.
You don't have to transfer. Okay.
Correct. Yeah, but it has to stay within noxious weed.
Right. Yeah, because that's a levy, so, if I remember right.
Yeah, it's in statute, I think statute or that we have to keep that separate.
You know, it's a state program, that's, you haven't seen anything to do away with state statutes. So if it is, the more administration fees, so.
So you're saying we need to verify?
Well, no, I'm just saying, I kept looking for that, because it's just something that come back to me that I wanted to make sure that we did it right. What we basically did with the rest, I mean, if the rest of it's rolled over into, I mean, we took the highway money and it's into the capital general improvements, which we need to kind of earmark or keep in mind, that's what we're gonna use for the bridge project. But the same token, any other, there's a few other budgets that did have a little bit of surplus, and if that's getting rolled over into the cash balance, then everybody's getting treated equally.
Okay.
And if,
What you have where one, accomplish. Truck.
yeah, but I think the truck,
Installation is bad.
no, the sprayer for next year, but I think basically she's thinking, 2 or 3 years down the road, the truck will have to be replaced.
I think this year she wanted insulation in the building and, skid spray. On skid. In
Right.
2018 or 19, she wanted a new truck.
Yeah, that's reasonable.
Yeah.
That's reasonable.
Yeah,
Because
the
no more
2018.
miles than they, actually, that truck, they bought it used, because you don't get used that much.
Yeah, but what are we thinking that the truck will go to county shop and they're gonna do the spraying and that truck will be used for pulling trailer, pulling.
Right.
versus
Yeah, it could be
other
versatile.
sprayer.
It could be versatile.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it's a pretty good truck, and they can store it around, I think it's even a ton truck, I don't know if it's got dual, I think it's a ton truck, so it's a pretty heavy truck. But, I think 100 hours is all they use it a year, spraying. That ain't much, ain't putting any miles in there, so you might as well make use of it. I mean, it's got 77,000 on it, but that's just half per kid now, if you really look at it, so. But- Well, that's the only question I had, and, once we get the final figures and stuff, so just so everybody knows, I mean, that way nobody is getting the, if anything surplus, it is revolving back into the, unencumbered balance for everybody, for general, so, which we needed to get that bill back up there first.
We need to get, when they're gonna be on the agenda to come back up and she'll present
The
final version of the audit.
I would think they'd be pretty soon, it's always seemed like we always got it in May, and we're halfway through May already, so.
That's the person inquire what we're receiving. She's when I come back up.
Yeah.
Pretty soon, I think. In May, I think she would be here in a month of May.
I would think so, because then
Which gives us a report and everything else.
are we gonna need to, she gave us a really straight answer on the, contract, whether this is the, whether we got a year contract with it, or with them or not, whether we have to, we need to.
It was a 4-year, so when did,
Well, she- I-
10, 11, 12. 13. It was a 4, I think it was a 4-year.
4-year or 5-year?
I think it was a 4-year, because of what was bid out.
I would say Chris's contact and tell her to find out, so that we need to, then that's some decision we're gonna make, then we'll start talking who we're gonna have, whether you're gonna just rebid it, and if they get a bid, that's fine.
I think we did that because at the time, we had, once the Stecker permit had been done for a long time, they were doing some day-to-day stuff, so, when I consulted with KC, and Robert Reese was another consultant, and a couple others, they suggested go and bid out, like, you could either do a single year, or you could multiple 4 years. They said generally by that 5th year, you're probably gonna wanna go out to bid. Again, that just keeps everybody fresh, that's what was suggested at the time, so I think that's what we
I
did,
think
for
it'll keep
4
it
year.
competitive, I have no problem with it as far as that goes, as long as, the firms are competitive, are competent, so.
Yeah, the only thing I wish, in hindsight, but like, But some firms would build in X amount of hours for like training or questions, stuff like that. A lot of that stuff wasn't built in, and it was this firm, so we were getting charged extra, so that would be something to, you know, put in the back of our head, that's worth quite a bit of weight, it's just those extra hours they can spend consulting and how many questions or department heads.
Yeah, but I remember specifically, I wanted to learn a little more about it, it's been a little over a year ago. I met personally, she charged me an hour.
Yeah, see, some firms will build that in their.
Yeah, that's what I'm willing to pay, no problem. I said, this is a learning process for me, I just want to be sure that the money that was transferable was, that was legit, you know, she said they have to be a little cost, I mean, by being the auditor and stuff, they don't want to be even involved in your budget decisions, you know. So she wasn't out there trying to know, she would answer, can you do this, but she wasn't saying, you should do this. They're a little cautious about that, because they've done the audit, you know, that it becomes close to conflict of interest almost.
Mhm.
What I've always been told is you do something 3 years, you need to make a change. And don't go so much on price, but thinking about, we're probably gonna do the same thing the third year's in, the first year, if they made a mistake, they won't ever catch it. You go in a different form, you got different ideas, and they might catch it, if there was a mistake.
Mhm.
Well, I know there's business, it seems pricey, but it's something that has to be done, and, it can protect you from a lot of headaches. I always had a hard time with, like, you got money in your budget, and you have cash carry, why can't you use it all? You can if you've been budgeted, but that's another deal with Jack, they go through. That's what's a little different than most of our businesses, is if you money in the bank, you can spend it. Under this, you gotta abide by your money now. So what are we gonna have, we'll take action on, the next Tuesday's agenda. Is there anybody said, do you have any next week agenda items yet, that you know of?
Should have anybody on here?
Pardon?
There's nobody on here
No.
yet,
I'm gonna check, I think maybe you told me, Jerry wants to come back up.
That's what he indicated, said he wanted to come back up.
I'd like for him to. I've already talked to, I think we'll buy a team today if he's there. Talking to Joe Hardy at the radio station, I thought it might be appropriate that that Jerry and one of us or something have a little, one of his Friday morning sessions. Here's what happened in the legislature, this is what could happen. Jerry could kind of explain his position on those things. But you wouldn't like the budget. Brad's supposed to be sending everybody a PowerPoint, but the guy that did the state budget didn't paint a very good picture where the budget was headed in terms of revenue shortfall. we want to take action on, this, architect, I'm trying to think of something else.
I have that you wanted to include local agreement and resolutions in that.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Do you want, is that any certain times or just this on the agenda?
I just put it there and then see what comes in. I mean, those are things that can be versatile. I mean, if somebody comes in, they specifically needed 2 o'clock or something, like, I need to set that up to 2, so those are things that we can maybe even,
Look around this time.
yeah, they can be kept around, so.
Okay.
And maybe Melanie will we may have her on too.
Did you know?
Yeah.
You ever notice that the walls right there? Or that, we got that hole there? The holes on the side right there? On the right hole? No, there's like big walls.
Oh. Oh. Over here too.
Yeah.
Well, there's some ugly looking, some like bricks looking little tough ones on that side.
That's bad, so ain't nothing a little money can't take care of.
Yeah. Even the inside of that.
Well, you know, these kind of buildings, you just, thank you for your service. That when I was down in Morris County, at Council Grove, they got the modern courthouse, I mean, you know, real nice brick building. It's 2 level, I mean, I'm guessing that they probably got a jail in there somewhere. I mean, it's a bit further, kind of basement there, underground, and they got all the clerk and the deeds on it, and level and everything and stuff. I doubt that they're having to deal with tuck pointing some of the rock or putting in new historic windows. I'm sure that it's pretty modern heating, cooling systems, so. I don't think I have anything else either, Mr. Chairman. I would move that we adjourn at 2:56.